Oh, we are back. Flint's News Talk 1470 WFNT. Dan Foley here with you, and joining now as promised, Dr. Marc Edwards. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Dan.
Well, listen, I'm so glad that you're available to talk to us this morning. I know you've been in the news a little bit, and we wanted to follow up on this. Read your piece at the flintwaterstudy.org, which is a tremendous resource for folks. If you're not referring to this, you really need to, because it's a great place for information on what's going on with the water situation. Tell us a little bit about some of the problems with this water defense methodology.
Well, Water Defense has a business model where they're trying to develop markets for sponges. And they claim that these sponges are going to empower citizens to determine dangerous chemicals in their water and protect themselves. And it's completely unproven, and the numbers that it generates have nothing to do with Environmental Protection Agency standards. So they're coming to town to a city that has obviously been through a serious trauma.
Right.
And rather than going a normal route to develop their product, test it in the lab, and then vet it through conventional water treatment organizations such as the National Sanitation Foundation, a process that usually takes 5 years plus, they're coming to town and making all kinds of outrageous claims about how good their product works at detecting harmful things, and implying that using this product might actually be giving people insights that can prevent some of the horrible rashes and breathing difficulties, the real health problems that people in Flint are experiencing. And they've raised all kinds of false health alarms. I tried to reason with these people a month ago to get them to stop making their false claims, and we also tried to have a phone call with them where I could try to discuss, science with them, and they never called. And so, unfortunately, I was in the position of either letting their unsubstantiated false health claims go unaddressed, and these claims are causing people to not bathe.
Right.
Kids are getting hurt by this. Okay, mothers have called me and said, they're afraid of letting their kids bathe or shower or wash their hands. Now, I don't fault anyone who's afraid of that in Flint.
Yeah.
But what makes me angry is anyone who's not having these problems and who's being scared off from normal hygiene by the claims of these pseudoscientists.
And they're led, and I don't know how this happened. I don't know if you have any insight in this. How did they happen to connect with Marc Ruffalo? There's an actor who played the Hulk.
Well,
why is he involved in this?
He's involved in the water defense business model. Go on the web. There's a YouTube video where they launch this water bug technology.
Yeah.
And so they're pushing sponges. They want to develop a market for their sponges. And oh, by the way, these sponges originally were designed and failed to clean up oil spills.
Okay.
And so the company that was behind it sort of went out of business, and for whatever reason, it wasn't a financial success. So now they're pushing into this brand new market, and running around Flint, throwing these sponges into people's bathtubs, and making all these kind of outrageous claims about dangerous chemicals they're finding. Which, by the way, we've known about 40 years. We have regulations to protect people from it. It's the TTHM rule. There's nothing new about it at all.
Yeah.
And Flint actually has lower levels of TTHMs now than the vast majority of cities in the United States. So the whole idea that they're claiming to find dangerous chemicals and act like there's something new and dangerous in Flint water and that should scare people away from bathing is absurd.
Well, and again, I mean, we're lucky to have you keeping an eye on this sort of stuff, and so I mean, they're basically profiting from a tragedy here. These are people who are showing up, and I got a call from this group. Now that you mentioned it, and they wanted to be on. They wanted to promote this, and I asked the person to send me some information, and they said, well, by then it'll be too late, and basically, I needed to act right then. I'm like, well, sorry, you know what I mean? It was like an Amway pitch or something. It was incredible.
It is. If you surf the web, what you'll find out is these individuals have gone to every disaster in the major news in the last few years. They were at Dan's River. They were at the West Virginia spill. They come in. They try to use this sponge product. They get some photo ops with Marc Ruffalo,
Yeah.
inventor Steve Smith, and I don't think it's an ethical approach to developing your product. Why don't you follow a path that does not endanger people while you're trying to develop this market? Go the conventional route. Do lab testing.
Yeah.
And then take it through the National Sanitation Foundation approved approach to getting a product certified as safe and useful.
It's kind of like, do you know who Kevin Trudeau is?
Yeah.
This guy, what the doctors don't want you to know, right? It's secret knowledge that only we have. It's proprietary technology. I mean, it's insane.
Right, and I would not care unless I felt people in Flint were in Genesee County were getting hurt by the fear. I mean, there's been a spike in gastrointestinal illness, and the most common cause of that is not practicing basic hygiene, showering, bathing, and hand washing.
Yeah.
And this is what I warned them about. I said, are you willing to take the liability for people not bathing because of your pseudoscientific claims? No answer.
So they won't debate you. They don't want to take your phone call. That's interesting. That's now. Let me ask you: have they reached out to Melissa Mays, who's we've talked to a lot and has done tremendous work on bringing this to light? But I think she's kind of working with these guys, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and I do not fault anyone in Flint because obviously there are a lot of fears that are legitimate in Flint.
Right,
There
and you don't know who to trust and who to turn to. You don't know who to trust.
Solution.
Yeah, and so here's a solution. There's a lifeline, and that's why throwing this lifeline out when you haven't gone through the testing and there are questions about this, about your claims. I mean, it's reprehensible.
Well, and actually, I'd almost prefer they were selling snake oil because at least snake oil has a placebo effect.
Right.
Like, let's say we threw one of these sponges in every bathtub in Flint. What does that accomplish? Does like throwing one of these water bug sponges in every bathtub keep rashes away? I mean, I don't even know what the logic is behind this. I'd rather they did something that at least gave people a placebo effect.
Listen, let's turn away from this a little bit. You've heard that there's a delay now in the joining KWA. It doesn't sound like the water treatment plant is going to be ready when the water comes online, and it's been delayed till 2017. Is that a good thing in your view?
I think so. And, here's what's happened. Obviously, the last startup of the water plant was botched by any reasonable measure.
Yeah.
And people, started that before they were ready. And so we've now gone from one extreme where obviously it should not have been started without the corrosion control and more training, to another extreme where everyone in the world is going to have to sign off on the starting of this plant. That includes the CDC, the EPA, the state, everyone. So you've gone from the worst planned startup in history to the most carefully overseen startup in history, because no one is going to let anything go wrong. So I think it's that's a good thing. You've got good Detroit water now. And why take the risk? I mean, that's what people are saying.
And I got to tell you, when we talk about the plant not being ready, and I wanted to get your take on this as well, and I know you were unhappy about it, but one of the only guy, Mike Glasgow, told people, hey, this plant's not ready to go. He told his superiors, then he checked with MDQ, and he's one of the only guys indicted so far. Now, he's got a deal, and they're looking at other people, but that was a little discouraging in your view, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I defended Mike in the press. I was so upset about what happened, and he did make mistakes. The charges are appropriate, and getting a plea agreement is also the right way to go.
Yeah.
But Mike was put in an impossible situation.
Right.
No scientist, no engineer in the country could have dealt with the disaster that resulted from starting that plant without corrosion control.
Right.
So I am very much a defender. Obviously he did make mistakes.
Yeah.
But
he ended up
a good person.
Yeah.
And I will defend him.
Yeah, because he did end up signing off. He was the only one who could. He was the only one with the appropriate license to sign off on the testing, and that was the problem. And with the agreement, he won't necessarily serve any time. But How much farther does this?
And he also helped uncover the lead problem. People
Yeah.
forget that.
Right.
He worked with Leanne, and he's also been very honest about his mistakes, and anyone has to respect that in this day and age.
Yeah, for sure. So how much farther does it go, do you think? What about the two folks from MDEQ? These are middle-level guys. These aren't. It's going further than this. Do you think it's important to get to the bottom of this, find the people, charge the people who made this decision?
Well, on the basis of my 15 years looking at cases of unethical scientific misconduct such as this, I think they've actually got, there's probably 4 people, in my opinion. I'm not going to give names or anything, but they're all mid-level people who were empowered and entrusted and had a civil service job to protect the public. They were the experts. They misled everyone around them. They misled Democrats. They misled Republicans. And, so again, like I've said on the prior show, people blamed Mayor Walling for trusting EPA Susan Hedman. People blame Governor Snyder's administration for trusting the scientists and engineers. I mean, that only goes so far. These are the specialists we pay to protect us. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on them. You cannot blame Mayor Walling for going on TV and drinking that water after he's told by Susan Hedman that there was no problem.
Yeah. So Prisby is one of the guys been indicted. Who's the other one from MDQ is indicted?
Bush.
Bush and Prisby, that's right. So, and we've talked about this before. I just don't get the motivation. I don't see why people at that level, I just don't get it. Why they would take it on themselves to say, no, we're ready to go.
Well, you haven't been living in my world for the last 14 years where you've been chasing after unethical scientists and engineers. And unfortunately, I know people have a hard time wrapping their head around this. Why would they do it? And that's why we all revert to a narrative where politicians cause this problem. Because the scientists and engineers behave so badly, it makes politicians look good by comparison. We feel there must be a political explanation for this. But the same exact thing happened in Washington, D.C.
Right.
It was 30 times worse. It was caused completely by the federal government. And, so I've lived it. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it. And I understand that people in Flint and around the world can't get it to this day because it's just so bizarre.
Have any of the investigators, have they talked with you?
I talk to anyone who has questions about Flint issues. So certainly some of those have been investigators.
So let me ask you this too: you're still involved in the advisory committee and kind of working going forward? How often are you? I mean, do you get in town still? Or are you just kind of?
I am working on Flint-related issues 60-plus hours a week. I do not get to town that frequently because, frankly, it's such a long drive. Even by plane, it takes 20 hours for me to get up there and back. So, but my team is going to be spending a lot of time up there this summer. There's all kinds of things that have to be done scientifically, and unfortunately, we're wasting our time with this pseudoscience nonsense. I mean, that's another thing that really outrages me is the amount of federal resources in my time that have been spent dealing with these false health claims. We've got real problems in Flint that will determine whether Flint gets back on its feet or not. I don't need to be running around chasing after Hollywood actors with trying to push sponges on people,
I love it. So where are we at just in terms of the actual fix, infrastructure-wise? What do we need to do and where are we at with that?
There's two key problems in the infrastructure. One is the one that we all want to see happen, the lead pipe replacement. We have to get those lead pipes out of the ground. That's a health-related issue. But every dollar spent on that is not going to reduce Flint's water rates, which are also a huge problem. We need to get water rates down to the point where residents in Flint can afford it and people actually consider moving back into the city. And to do that, we're going to have to deal with the water mains, which are causing all these main breaks. They're very, very expensive. And unfortunately, that will not, to some extent, if you have enough money, you want to do everything.